Everyone died inside the Alien Labyrinth. Warriors, geniuses, even machines. They screamed. They begged. But no one ever made it out. Until now. A single human stands at the gate alone. No armor, no weapons, just an old backpack and a strange smile. The alien generals laugh. He'll last 5 minutes. But Jaden, the human, steps forward calm, quiet, almost playful. The gates slam shut behind him, and the galaxy watches, because this time, something feels different. And deep inside the maze, the system feels it. The maze just met its match. The Alien Labyrinth was known across the galaxy. Everyone feared it. No one had ever come out. Ships from different worlds brought their champions to face the test, but all of them disappeared inside. The maze changed every time. It read the mind of the person who entered. Some faced illusions, some got lost forever, and some just vanished. Now, a new rival stood at the gate. A human boy named Jaden. He didn't wear armor. He didn't carry a weapon. He had no medals, no title, no big story. He only had a small backpack, some snacks, a bottle of water, and a quiet smile. The alien leaders watching the screen were confused. Is this some kind of joke? One asked. He's not even trained, another said. Just a student from Earth. But the Earth team said nothing. They stood quietly behind the glass, watching Jaden with serious eyes. The gates of the labyrinth opened slowly. A deep wind came from inside, even though no one could say where it came from. Jaden looked up once, took a deep breath, and stepped inside. The door closed behind him. Silence. The watchers waited. Most expected the same result, the usual failure. 5 minutes, maybe 10. Then the signal would disappear like always. But something strange happened. Jaden didn't panic. He didn't run forward or shout for help. He simply looked around like he was walking into a museum. The walls moved quietly. The floor under his feet felt soft, like sand, then hard like stone. The colors changed slowly around him. Jaden smiled. Again, this is just like that old puzzle game, he whispered to himself. He pulled out a tiny notebook from his pocket and drew a square, then a triangle. Then he turned slowly to the left. He took another step. The wall in front of him opened not with noise, but with a soft light, like it was welcoming him. The alien generals sat up. Did he solve the first section already? No. One ever gets past that wall. It's random. But he didn't guess. He calculated. Inside the maze, Jaden kept moving forward. He remembered his grandmother's voice. She used to tell him Earth puzzles to make him think. Always watch the corners, she would say. If something looks too simple, look again. Jaden did just that. He reached a hallway filled with mirrors. They all showed different images, some good, some bad. Most minds broke down in this area. It showed personal memories, regrets, and fake futures. Many believed the images were real, but Jaden closed his eyes. This is just visual noise, he said calmly. He turned around and walked backward, counting steps. Suddenly, a mirror vanished behind him. The path opened again. The watchers were shocked. How did he know? He didn't even look at the mirror maze. The AI that ran the labyrinth paused. It had never seen behavior like this before. Most visitors tried to understand the maze. Like a test, this human treated it like play. Inside, Jaden started humming a song from Earth. Just a soft, simple tune from an old cartoon. The sound echoed around him. The walls didn't react, but something else did. A light on the floor blinked in time with the beat. Jaden noticed. He began walking to the rhythm. Left, pause, right, forward, and the floor lit up where he stepped. A new path appeared, leading down. Jaden laughed. Rhythm puzzle, classic. The AI running the labyrinth ran new calculations. This human was using ideas not found in any galactic training program. It was old Earth knowledge, simple games, pattern tricks, childhood puzzles, things no one had thought to use here. Jaden walked deeper. The temperature changed. The walls became glassy, and he saw past participants frozen inside crystal. He stopped and looked at one carefully. The alien inside looked brave, proud, but also confused. They were too serious, Jaden whispered. to focus on solving the big picture. But sometimes the answer is small. As he moved ahead, the walls began to glow. The AI made things harder now. It added time delays. It moved steps without warning. It turned lights off randomly. But Jaden didn't rush. He sat down, opened his backpack, and ate a cracker. Then he looked up and waited. After 2 minutes, a path opened in front of him. The AI paused again. It couldn't understand. Jaden stood and said, "You thought I'd run, but I know the trick." He walked into the next room. Back outside. The alien leaders were now silent. They watched the screen with serious eyes. This was not just another attempt. This human was different, and deep inside the maze, something old awakened. A voice that hadn't spoken in years. "Bring him to me," it said. Because for the first time ever, the labyrinth was curious. Jaden walked carefully through the new hallway. It was narrow, smooth, and strangely quiet. The walls shimmered like water, and sometimes they reflected things that weren't there. He saw himself, but in different clothes. He saw his old teacher, his favorite park, and once, he even saw Earth's blue sky. But none of it was real. He whispered, "Illusions. It's testing my focus now." Behind the scenes, alien observers leaned closer to their screens. One commander from the Krell species tapped her claws on the table. "He shouldn't be doing this well. The mirror hallway confuses even our best minds." Another commander replied, "He's not thinking like a soldier. He's thinking like a dreamer." Inside the labyrinth, Jaden came to a large chamber with floating shapes, blocks, spheres, and lines hung in the air. Some moved slowly, others spun or changed color. There was no clear path forward. A voice echoed softly, as if coming from the walls. "Arrange the thoughts. Build what cannot be seen." Jaden looked around. "A building challenge," he said, remembering something. Back on Earth, he had once played a game where he had to build shapes using shadows. The real object never made sense, but its shadow had to match a certain pattern. He stepped back and looked at the floating shapes again, not directly, but through their shadows on the floor slowly. He began moving them not by strength, but by soft touch and balance. One sphere here, a block there. He turned a few carefully, then stepped back again. On the floor, their shadows formed a doorway. The wall in front of him changed. It became soft light and opened quietly. Jaden nodded. "This maze loves riddles more than fear." In the control room, a scientist whispered, "He's not reacting emotionally. He's solving logically." Another said, "No, not just logic. He's solving with creativity." Jaden kept walking. He reached a wide room with no ceiling. The stars above twinkled, but not in their usual way. They blinked like lights in a pattern. He sat down, stared at the sky, and tapped his fingers on his leg. Tap dash tap. Pause. Tap, 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 tap. The stars blinked back in rhythm. "It's a code," he said softly. "A musical code." Jaden closed his eyes and began humming the same song from before. The blinking stars started to change. They moved slowly, forming a map in the sky. When he opened his eyes, a new path had formed ahead. It wasn't a doorway. It was a bridge made of light. He stepped onto it carefully, his heartbeat calm. Each step matched the notes in the tune. Behind the scenes, alarms rang silently in the AI's core. The maze was adjusting. It had never expected someone to respond. With music, rhythm, or play, it had tested power and knowledge. But it had never tested imagination. Jaden reached the end of the bridge. A soft voice spoke again. "You move like a child. You act like a thinker. What are you?" He smiled and answered, "I'm human." The voice said nothing, but deep inside the system, something old shifted. The architect, the one who built the labyrinth long ago, was awake now, watching carefully. Jaden entered a room that felt different from the others. It was quiet. Nothing moved. The walls were smooth and dark. In the center, a single chair waited. He didn't sit. Instead, he walked around the chair 3 times, then stopped and faced the wall. "I've seen this pattern before," he said. "A test of stillness, a trap for those who rush." He pulled out a small silver coin from his pocket. It wasn't special, just something he carried for luck. He tossed it in the air gently. The sound echoed in the room. Suddenly, the wall lit up. A path revealed itself. Jaden whispered, "Sometimes you don't solve the test. You just break its rhythm." Back in the viewing center, the alien leaders sat in silence. One of them finally spoke. "Earth was not invited to this trial. Why is their child doing what our champions could not?" A human representative looked up and smiled. "Because he was never trained to survive. He was raised to wonder." The architect watched as Jaden walked forward. The human had solved rooms without force, without fear, and without needing clues. He moved with patience, with memory, and with something rare. Joy. Now, the architect wanted to meet him. Jaden entered the next chamber. The lights dimmed. The floor turned soft, like clouds. In the distance, a large figure stood waiting. It didn't move. It didn't speak. But Jaden could feel it watching him. He paused, took a breath, and smiled. Because he knew this was just the beginning. Jaden stood quietly, his eyes focused on the tall figure ahead. It wasn't moving. It wasn't breathing. But somehow, it felt alive. The room around them was completely silent. No wind, no sound, just stillness. He took a step forward. The floor felt soft, like walking on memory foam. With every step, a soft ripple spread outward. But the tall figure didn't respond. Jaden finally stopped, standing a few feet away. Now he could see more clearly. It wasn't an alien. It wasn't even a living being. It was a statue, tall, smooth, glowing slightly. It looked almost human, but not exactly. Its eyes were closed. Its hands were resting calmly on its lap. A soft hum filled the room. Not music, just a low, warm sound like the beginning of a dream. Then, the statue opened its eyes, not fast, not slow, just naturally, as if waking up after a long nap. Jaden didn't step back. He only tilted his head, studying it. The statue spoke, but not with its mouth. The voice entered his mind, calm, deep, and clear. "You do not fear me," Jaden answered softly. "I didn't know I should. You do not bow. I wasn't told to. You do not ask questions." Jaden smiled a little. "Not yet." The voice paused, then said, "You are not like the others." Jaden looked around the room. No one has ever come this far, have they? No one has ever passed the third level. Jaden looked at the glowing figure. "Then why am I still here?" "You are different. You use what others throw away. Music, memory, imagination." Jaden thought for a second. "Is that why this place feels familiar sometimes?" The figure's glow grew warmer. "You are not inside a machine," it said. "You are inside a story." Jaden's eyes widened. "A story?" "Yes, this place was built long ago. Not just to test strength or logic, but to see who understands the value of play." Jaden sat down on the soft floor, cross-legged like he did during storytime on Earth. He looked up at the statue. Then, what's the next part of the story? The walls around them changed. Suddenly, the room was gone. Jaden found himself in a wide field under a purple sky. A soft wind touched his face. Tall glowing plants moved slowly. The stars above danced in circles. "Welcome to the memory field," the voice said. "This isn't real, is it?" Jaden asked. "Real enough," the voice replied. "But here, you must find something that doesn't belong." Jaden stood and looked around. Everything felt peaceful, too peaceful. Then he noticed something. All the plants swayed in the same direction, all except one. It was small, bright blue, and didn't move at all. Jaden walked up to it and gently touched it. Suddenly, the sky above him shifted. The stars froze. The colors turned darker. The plant opened like a door. A soft path appeared inside the flower. Jaden whispered, "It's always the smallest thing, isn't it?" The voice replied, "Only those who notice small things can see the bigger picture." Jaden stepped inside. The path was narrow and filled with soft lights. It led him to a circular room where floating cubes spun slowly in the air. On each cube was a moving picture, a memory from someone's life, some from humans, others from alien species he had never seen. The voice spoke again. "Choose the memory that doesn't belong to this maze." Jaden watched carefully. One cube showed a large alien climbing a tower. Another showed a group of scientists studying maps. A third showed a young girl painting a rainbow on a wall. Jaden pointed to the last one. This one. It's not about survival or testing. It's about joy. The cube stopped spinning. You have chosen correctly, said the voice. Jaden stepped forward. The cube gently opened, and inside was a small white stone. He took it. Keep this. The voice said, it will help you later. Jaden placed it in his backpack. The room slowly faded back into the original dark chamber. With the glowing statue in front of him, you see what others cannot, the voice said. You ask what others forget. You remember what others ignore. Jaden stood tall. I don't want to just escape this place. I want to understand it. The statue gave a soft nod. Then you are ready. The floor beneath Jaden began to shift upward. Not like an elevator, more like a floating leaf rising gently. On wind. As he rose, he saw parts of the maze from above. Some places he had been, some places yet to come. He noticed walls moving, doors opening and closing, puzzles rearranging themselves. But one thing stood out, a glowing circle far ahead where a figure waited. Someone real, someone who had built the maze long ago. The architect. Jaden took a deep breath. He wasn't just solving a maze. He was walking through a living mind, and the mind was starting to listen. Jaden floated upward in complete silence. The light beneath him was soft, like moonlight dancing on water. He didn't know where the lift was taking him, but he didn't feel afraid. His heart was steady, his mind curious. All around him, the walls of the labyrinth shifted slowly. Some changed colors, others moved like waves. It no longer looked like a trap. It looked like a breathing, thinking place. After a few moments, the lift stopped. Jaden stepped off onto a round platform. It was quiet, but not empty. In the center stood a tall structure, half crystal, half mirror. It shimmered with soft colors. Round it floated several symbols in the air, spinning slowly. Jaden looked at them closely. They weren't letters. They weren't numbers. They were ideas. One looked like a melody. Another looked like a child's laughter. One glowed with the rhythm of a heartbeat. Jaden slowly walked around the structure. As he did, one of the symbols stopped spinning. It drifted toward him, hovered in front of his chest, and gently pulsed. It was warm. The moment it touched him, he heard the voice again. You continue to move forward, not with fear, but with wonder. Jaden nodded. I'm just trying to understand. You are not here to escape. You are here to teach the maze. Jaden blinked. Teach, yes. The voice said, this labyrinth was built to learn from those who entered. But it stopped learning long ago. The ones who came tried to win. You are trying to understand. Jaden took a deep breath. Then maybe it's time for the maze to ask questions. The platform shifted gently. A new path opened, long, curved, glowing like a soft sunrise. Jaden stepped onto it. As he walked, he saw large floating shapes on either side of the path. They were like bubbles filled with memories. Inside one, a creature danced under falling stars. Inside another, a child wrote glowing lines into the sand. Jaden realized something. These weren't challenges. They were stories. Moments. Experiences. This place is alive, he whispered. It remembers everyone who came. The voice returned. Correct, but remembering is not enough. What do you do with memories that never change? Jaden thought for a moment. You use them to build something new. As he said those words, the bubbles began to glow brighter. One by one, they turned into bridges, connecting to each other above his head. The path below his feet lit up with soft patterns, triangles, circles, lines that shifted as he walked. He was not just a guest now. He was part of the system. Jaden came to the end of the glowing path. A tall doorway stood before him, shaped like two hands reaching toward each other. The space between them shimmered like still water. Without hesitation, Jaden stepped through. He was now in a room unlike any he had seen. It was simple. Peaceful. A small pond sat in the center, and around it were stone seats. On one of the seats, someone waited. Not a statue, not a projection, a living being. It was tall, cloaked in soft silver. Its face was calm, with kind eyes and a voice that didn't echo like the others. You made it, the figure said. Jaden sat across from it, feeling no need to speak right away. The figure continued, I built the first parts of this labyrinth. I wanted to create something that revealed truth. A space that showed what someone really was inside. But over time, the maze forgot its purpose. Jaden nodded. Because people stopped seeing it as a story. Yes, the architect said. They saw only a challenge. Something to win, not something to learn from. Jaden looked into the water of the pond. His reflection wasn't clear, it shifted like the sky on a cloudy day. He asked, "Why me?" The architect smiled. "Because you came here with no goal except to see. You didn't try to prove anything. You didn't try to break the maze. You played with it. You asked it questions. You gave it something it had lost: curiosity." Jaden was quiet for a moment, then asked, "So what now?" The architect stood and touched the water. Ripples spread outward, turning into paths of light. "There's one more room," he said. "But this one will not test you." Jaden stood. "Then what will it do?" "It will listen to you." A soft wind passed through the chamber. The air shimmered as the door appeared again. Jaden walked forward slowly, but not with hesitation. This time, he wasn't just walking into a puzzle. He was stepping into a space made for him. A room that would shape itself from his memories, his ideas, his truth. And for the first time, the labyrinth wasn't guiding him. It was following him. The glowing path under Aaron's feet slowly disappeared behind him. He didn't look back. He knew the labyrinth changed every time someone took a step. The walls moved silently, shifting behind his back, erasing all signs of where he had been. But this time, Aaron noticed something unusual. There were no traps so far, no puzzles, no strange alien riddles, just silence. He turned a corner and found a narrow hallway. At the end of it stood a shimmering archway. On the floor before it lay a small object, round, metal, and covered in dust. Aaron knelt and gently picked it up. It was a badge. Human military. Old design. This belonged to someone who came before. He whispered to himself. There were no footsteps, no signs of life. Just one badge alone. That meant whoever owned it never made it out. The weight of silence pressed on Aaron's shoulders, like a shadow. Then he heard something, a faint hum, deep and rhythmic, almost like breathing. The walls ahead began to glow faint green, one after the other, like something was waking up. "Okay." Aaron muttered, "This part is different." He stepped through the shimmering archway. Suddenly, the temperature dropped. He could see his own breath. The air tasted sharp, like metal. Ahead was a vast chamber, but it looked wrong. It wasn't like the rest of the maze. The floor was smooth, like glass. Strange alien symbols floated in midair, moving around him in patterns he couldn't understand. Aaron took one step forward, and the entire room pulsed. A voice echoed, soft but cold, human. "Your presence is unrecorded. Explain." He froze. This was new. None of the reports mentioned a voice. No one had spoken about this room. "I'm not here to explain," Aaron said carefully. "I'm here to understand. Double quotes, silence. Then the voice replied. "Then you may enter, if you pass the mirror trial." Without warning, the room turned dark. In front of him, a tall mirror rose from the ground, glowing faintly. But what it showed was not his reflection. It showed another version of him. The reflection moved like him, but its eyes glowed gold. Its face twisted in strange ways, as if trying to smile and frown at the same time. The voice returned. "You must defeat what you fear most, not with strength, but with truth." Aaron stared at the mirror. The other him stared back. "You'll fail like the others," the reflection said. "You're not special. You're just pretending to be brave." "No," Aaron replied, his voice quiet but firm. "I'm scared, but I'm still here." The reflection flickered, then hissed. "Then show me what makes you different." Suddenly, the mirror cracked but didn't break. The room was watching. The labyrinth was watching. Aaron reached into his pocket and pulled out the small notebook he had kept since training. It wasn't filled with plans or maps. It was filled with thoughts, dreams, questions, the kind of things a fighter wasn't supposed to care about. He opened it and spoke softly. "This is who I really am. I'm not here to fight my way through this place. I'm here to listen, to learn. That's what makes me human." The mirror shattered. The floor lit up. The voice returned. "Softer now. Then you may proceed." And as the chamber shifted again, the cold faded. A new path opened, one that no one had ever seen. But the deeper Aaron walked, the more he realized this wasn't just a labyrinth of traps. It was a labyrinth of minds, of choices, of truth. And something deeper was still watching him, waiting. The air inside the labyrinth felt different now, softer, almost like it was breathing. Ethan looked around, unsure if the maze had changed again, or if it was his own mind, playing tricks. For hours, maybe days, he had walked, listened, waited. The walls had whispered stories to him, stories he couldn't understand until now. He stepped forward slowly, and the floor beneath his boots didn't echo this time. The silence was strange. It wasn't empty, it was full of something waiting. A soft glow lit the path ahead. Not the harsh alien lights he had seen before, but a warm, golden shimmer like sunlight from Earth. It felt safe, but Ethan knew better than to trust feelings inside the labyrinth. Still, he followed the glow. It led him to a round chamber unlike any other. The walls were covered with symbols many he had seen before, but now they seemed clearer. It was as if the maze wanted him to understand, as if it was finally listening to him. In the center stood a tall crystal, humming quietly. His translator whispered a single word, choice. Ethan stepped closer. His heart beat slowly, deeply. In rhythm with the crystal, I get to choose? He asked, his voice low. The crystal's glow pulsed once, suddenly. Faces formed in the air around him, images of people the labyrinth had taken. Not just humans. So many species. Some still looked afraid. Others calm. One smiled. The message was clear. This wasn't just a trap. It was a test. For generations, it had been searching for someone who would not fight, who would not run, but who would listen. Ethan slowly sat on the floor. He closed his eyes. He didn't speak. He just waited. Minutes passed. Maybe longer. And then the ground trembled, but it wasn't danger. It was something being unlocked. The walls began to shift, not closing and opening. Light flooded the room, real sunlight. Fresh air rushed in. The labyrinth was done. Ethan had done what no one else had. He had listened. And in that silence, he had found the one trick no one expected.